From distant exoplanets to faraway galaxies, space exploration is taking huge turns with every new discovery. However, there is a new hindrance in the way, and it's called distance. Space may not look huge from the Earth, but if we look at it, everything in space is at a far-off distance from Earth. So, traveling back and forth between planets and stars is a massive problem, as it can take from months to years. To deal with the problem, scientists have taken their inspiration from the Star Trek series and have invented the new warp bubble technology, which is going to change space travel completely. Hey everyone, welcome to Space Scientists. In today's video, we are going to talk about the first ever warp bubble created and how it is going to revolutionize space exploration. So if you want to know more about it, then stay with us until the end of the video. And before we start the video, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell icon for more amazing videos. Warp bubble travel is not strange to fans of the Star Trek franchise, as the warp drive is a charming futuristic technology from the Star Trek universe, using powerful and fast starships, traveling from planet to planet, and communicating with a crew of aliens. The famous torsion engine is the center of attraction because the universe is strange, unimaginable, and insanely large. And even if you want to visit the next star, the immense cosmic distances creates an almost impossible barrier. However, the torsion engine, using warp drive tech, overcomes this problem by juggling space and time. Referring to the Star Trek series, warp drive was destined to remain imaginary until a scientist suddenly realized that such an engine was really possible at the end of the last century. That physicist was Miguel Alcubierre, and he came up with a theory that rocked the scientific community globally. In 1994, Alcubierre watched an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation while doing his PhD research on Einstein's general theory of relativity, where heavy masses can curve space and time. So, while watching the series, Alcubierre picked up a scrap of paper, did the calculations, and laid the foundations for an article that appeared in the Science magazine. Later that year in this paper, Alcubierre described how you can compress space and time in front of a spacecraft and stretch it back behind the spacecraft, so you have to travel a much smaller distance to the desired destination, safely trapped in what he calls a torsion bubble. So let's discuss what actually is a warp drive and how it will help the space industry change its ways of space exploration and travel. A warp drive, or a drive basically that allows a starship to travel faster than light, is a fictitious superluminal spacecraft propulsion engine that has appeared in science fiction works and is the topic of continuing physics study. John W. Campbell first proposed the notion of warp drive in his 1957 novel Islands of Space, and the Star Trek series popularized it. Basically, a warp drive is a fictitious application of the Alcubierre drive. This new technology is based on a solution of Einstein's field equations in general relativity, by which a spacecraft could achieve apparent faster-than-light travel if a configurable energy density field lower than that of a vacuum could be created. So, by using this engine, instead of traveling faster than light inside a local reference frame, a spaceship would traverse distances by compressing space in front of it and expanding space behind it, resulting in effective faster-than-light travel. It has been observed that within regular space-time, objects cannot accelerate to the speed of light. So, the Alcubierre drive alters space around an item to allow it to reach its target faster than light would in normal space without violating any physical rules. According to Einstein's special relativity theory, solid things with non-zero rest mass, unlike photons, cannot move at the speed of light. The difficulty with a material thing traveling faster than light is that it would need an unlimited amount of kinetic energy to go at the speed of light. Although this new technology is believed to be phenomenal, the notion of space warp has been challenged as illogical, as it has been linked to a number of other rubber science concepts that do not fit into our present knowledge of physics, such as anti-gravity and negative mass. As you obviously know, the cosmos is enormous, so could we build a ship that goes faster than light? Harold White, a National Aeronautics Space Administration scientist and the lead of the Advanced Propulsion Team, was in charge of the space agency's attempts to see if a faster-than-light warp drive is viable, and if so, how can we build one? So, to prove it, Harold created a model and concept for a starship that closely resembled the Enterprise from Star Trek. White directed an interferometer experiment that was intended to assess such an impact at the nanoscale. The data received from the experiment was equivocal, and the scientists highlighted that while a non-zero or non-confirming impact was seen, the difference may have been generated by other factors. In other words, more data is required. However, failure of the experiment does not rule out the possibility of warp bubbles, as it's also conceivable that we're attempting to detect them in an inefficient manner. To explain this phenomenon to the public, White explained in a statement, "Our detailed numerical analysis of our custom Casimir cavities helped us identify a real and manufacturable nano-microstructure that is predicted to generate a negative vacuum energy density, such that it could manifest a real nanoscale warp bubble, not an analog, but the real thing." So if he is actually correct, White's team has possibly discovered the world's first warp drive. Even so, if scientists had all the materials they needed for the so-called Alcubierre drive, the energy emitted off the space fabric warping spacecraft would be enough to rip planets apart. In addition, White recently told The Debrief, a science and technology magazine, "To my knowledge, this is the first paper in the peer-reviewed literature that proposes a realizable nanostructure that is predicted to manifest a real, albeit humble, warp bubble." White and his team plan to conduct more experiments into the possibility of smaller models to better understand the opportunities of a prospective warp drive. Perhaps the EagleWorks laboratory can take us from science fiction to reality, as he said. You would anticipate zero pressure outside and zero pressure in the cavity. But what we find when we measure is negative pressure in between the plates. What we're trying to do is explore the quantum vacuum at a fundamental level. It's not just Harold White who is supporting warp bubbles theory, as DARPA is also taking interest in the newly discovered technology, and it stated, "We think there's a bit more to these vacuums that we currently know. Some of the unknown characteristics could be used to create some really useful technologies. These uses could include amazing things like batteries based around what Dr. White calls quantum vacuum solar cells that would never run out of energy. Telecommunications products that use longitudinal waves distributed by buildings or natural barriers could be a potential use, as could photosensors that don't suffer from chromatic aberration because they sense all elements of the EM spectrum evenly." And this is it for today, guys. What are your thoughts on today's video? Do you think the warp bubble is as powerful as scientists believe it to be? Share your views with us in the comments below. Also, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell icon for more amazing videos about space. And thank you for watching.